What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about Palantir and how they've had a really tough couple of past trading sessions. They also have a game-changing catalyst coming up in 2 weeks. I'm going to be setting myself up again into some options plays throughout the end of this week. So make sure you guys stick until the end of this video so that you're up to date on everything going on with Palantir and you can see exactly which options I am looking at trading. So before we get into all of that information, if you guys enjoy this video, please go down and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and make sure you turn on that notification bell so you're notified every single time that I post a new video so you get to stay up to date on all of your favorite stocks, learn about a couple of new ones, and see exactly which options trades I am taking and which strategies I am using to trade them. So going over to the chart of Palantir, we can see that over the last week, it has had an absolutely terrible drop. It went from the 44.50 range all the way down now to 31.02. After its earnings were released after hours, though, it did shoot up about 72 cents or about 2.32%. If you've watched some of my other Palantir videos, you know that we were getting into an options trade on Palantir. We got in around here. 24.40 was around the time that we got in, and I bought the February 19th 30 strike calls. So the reason for that was that the 30s and the 35s had a really unusually high amount of open interest and volume every single day. So we knew something was coming. We knew that demo day was coming up. And before demo day on the 26th, Palantir went absolutely ballistic, going up to 36.55, setting my contracts about $6.55 in the money and continued all the way up into the mid 40 range. Now, I thought we were going to see a small consolidation before we actually ran up higher into earnings, but we did not see that. And my position really deteriorated over the last couple of trading days, and I actually sold out of this position. It was still around a 400% gain, but at one point this trade was sitting at around 1,000% gain. So if you guys were in on this trade with me and you were able to top ticket and sell at the top, congratulations, you just made a boatload of money. But later on in this video, I'm going to show you guys the exact play that I am looking at getting into for earnings. So previously, I was talking about Palantir's earnings date being on February 11th. Now, I said it in a couple of my videos, but that was not the official date that Palantir is going to actually be releasing their earnings numbers. That was just the projected date. As of today, though, they have actually confirmed a date to be releasing their earnings, and that is going to be on February 16th. So let's take a look. Palantir Technologies announced today that results for its fourth quarter and fiscal year ended December 31st, 2020 will be released on Tuesday, February 16th, prior to the open of the U.S. markets. Now, that's very important. If you are planning on trading Palantir for earnings and you are planning on trading options, you need to be very careful because you have to realize that on Tuesday, February 16th, if you are in an options position and you hold it through the market close on Monday, you will not be able to sell your position until after Palantir announces its earnings numbers. So you could be making a ton of money or you could lose your entire investment. So that is something you need to keep a lookout for, especially when trading options around earnings. So we're going to go over the exact options play that I'm planning on getting into and the strategy I'm going to be using. So it's going to be one of two strategies. It's either going to be play the run up, sell before earnings, which I've gone over in some of my other videos, or if the options chain is showing me that the market makers are pricing in a smaller projected move than what I agree with, then I will play the actual earnings event by buying calls and puts on either side an equal distance away from the current trading price at the end of the day on Monday the 15th. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's take a look at some of the actual estimates for what Palantir will be releasing for its earnings numbers this quarter. So there are a couple of sources that have put out some estimates for the EPS and revenue that they are predicting that Palantir will have released in this quarter. So if we come over here, we can see that the announced date not confirmed for Palantir. As of right now, it is, so this is not updated. The earnings per share estimates are 0.02 and the revenue estimates are 301 million. So if we come down a little bit further, we can see that the Q4, again, 0.02, Q1 2021 0.02. So this could be right now that it's just kind of the benchmark and a placeholder for when these actual estimates come in. But these are what they're showing right now. There are 7 analysts that have projected the EPSs, and the low is going to be 0.01 and the high is 0.05. If you didn't already know, essentially what EPS is, it's earnings per share, and it's essentially when you take the revenue and you subtract all the expenses and things like that, and then divide it by the amount of shares outstanding, and it gives you a number like this, a 0.02. Or if you're a larger company, the numbers will be a lot higher. But since Palantir is a smaller data analytics firm, even though they have a super high valuation and they've recently IPO'd, these projections are going to be pretty low. Now let's take a look at some of the previous expectations for Palantir on earnings, which is going to give us some insight on what we can expect for Palantir's earnings coming up in 2 weeks. So when you're playing earnings and you're trading them for options, it's all about expectations. They could come out with the most ridiculous revenue numbers that ever existed, but if they come in at numbers below what the market and the analysts are projecting, then the stock will most likely fall. So it's all about the analysts' expectations, and if Palantir or any company in general is able to exceed those expectations. So if we come over here, we can see the quarterly earnings surprise amount for the quarter ending September 2020. We can see that the earnings per share came out at 0.09, and the consensus EPS forecast, which is the 0.02 number that we just looked at, was 0.04. So this was a 125% surprise, and Palantir obviously went up after this announcement since they absolutely crushed the estimates. Now, I know it's been a little bit of time since we've seen some of the really big contracts that Palantir has received, but Palantir received a pretty substantial agreement with the U.S. Army in the amount of about $114 million, and this was announced in December 2019, so that's going to be contributing to their Q4 revenue. We also saw Palantir continue vital NHS work with the UK with a contract worth $31.5 million. So all of these contracts are going to contribute to the revenue numbers that Palantir is going to be bringing in for Q4 2020, and that doesn't even account for the existing business that they already have that they receive recurring income from. So let's go over to the options chain and take a look at exactly which options trades that I'm going to be getting into for this Palantir run-up. Now, I haven't decided fully if I'm going to be playing Palantir again because I've already made about 300 to 400% on the last Palantir trade I took for demo day, and it was supposed to cover earnings, which it actually did, but I sold out too early because I was worried that the earnings were actually going to be announced in March, and my February 19th expiration date was not going to cover the earnings date. So we're back on the February 19th expiration date, and we're going to take a look at some of these contracts a little bit deep out of the money. So we can take a look at the open interest. We can see that it's pretty low up until we hit these 35s. So the $35 strike has a 51,562 open interest, which essentially means that that's the amount of contracts that are held in people's brokerage accounts right now. If we come over and take a look at the volume, of almost 15,000 of these contracts were traded today. So a lot of options traders were buying the dip on the options chain for Palantir going into earnings. Now, I usually like to buy some super deep out of the money plays, especially when there's a company like Palantir that can move 20-25% in a given day. We also see that the implied volatility is super high, so I'd rather buy some cheap contracts and buy more of them and take the loss that way than buy closer to the money contracts and have less reward potential and profit potential. So we're going to go down and look at these 40s. So the 40s still have a very highly unusual open interest compared to the other strikes on the chain, almost 21,000, and the volume traded today was 8,500. So I'm going to be looking at these 45s. Right now, they're about $110 a contract. The last price was 108, and these were down a significant amount today. So this could be a good dip to buy. We could also go all the way out to these 45s. Last time I played Palantir, I made the mistake of not going out far enough with my strike. I was looking at the 30s and the 35s, and I actually chose the 30s even though they were more expensive. If I had chosen the 35s, my contracts would have gone up 1,500% if I bought those instead of the 30s, which only went up around 800 to 1,000%. I know, only 800%. I shouldn't be complaining, but I didn't sell, so it only went up about 300% at the end of the trade. So I'm thinking these 45s look pretty good. They're about 60 a contract. I'll probably buy maybe 10 of them. So last time I played Palantir, I didn't have that much conviction, especially since the implied volatility was so high, and I didn't really know what to expect on a run-up into demo day. But this time, I'm willing to put a little bit more money on the table. As you guys have heard before, when I trade options, I usually trade with an amount around $250 to $1,000. Now, that's what I'm planning to do if and only if I decide to buy Palantir calls for the earnings run-up. Now, they've had a massive dip. It's a pretty good idea, but I got burned pretty bad last time I played Palantir. Mainly, it was my fault. I could have sold some calls above the strike that I had and taken some profits and made it into a debit spread for a net credit. But I chose to just hold it out, ride the contracts, and I got burned, which is fine. I'm perfectly fine with that when I'm trading options, but here's going to be my strategy, which you guys should pay attention to if I do end up buying these contracts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a bunch of these Palantir contracts. I'll probably buy 10 of them. If I'm feeling a little bit risky, I'll probably maybe even buy 15, but that's going to be a lot of money, so I got to figure out what my cash balance is like in my account to see if I want to do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the majority of these contracts up until the day before earnings. Since Palantir reports in the morning on a Tuesday, I will sell most of my contracts on Monday evening. So before market close on Monday, I will be out of the majority of my Palantir trade. If I choose to put in a really high amount into this trade, if it goes up 100%, I'm going to sell half my position and let the other half ride. I get my initial investment back and I'm playing with the profit. Perfectly fine with me. Same thing occurs when I get up to the day before earnings. Right as the market's about to close, I look at my position. If I'm up a significant amount, if I have 10 contracts and they're up 150 to 300% on the low end, that's usually the lower end when I'm playing earnings, I will sell 80% of my contracts and leave 2 of them, if I buy 10 contracts, on the table to actually ride through the earnings announcement. Now, you got to be careful holding through earnings. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. You can get crushed by theta, crushed by IV. The stock may not move enough. It might move too much in one direction, then come back, and your premiums just decay, and you don't know what happened. So you got to be careful. Look at some of my other options trading videos if you want to learn some more, but that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed what I had for you in this one, please go down and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, and make sure you turn on that notification bell so you're notified every single time that I post a new video. So I hope you guys are having a profitable day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.